What's going on, everybody? It's about that time, baby, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
The Sinclair Show is on.
It is on.
Run it to your friends, come on.
Come on, come
So
on.
this a moment of the show tonight. Mailbag is tight. Sinclair is on the mic.
Once again, it's on. You're still trouble in your home. Got your tripping, don't know right from wrong. Send your letters to the show so we can talk you through. Give the answers to your questions because we speak that truth. Sometimes you doubt yourself, lost your health. Faith is on the fence, but you believe that Jesus knows your wealth. Keep it moving, spirit flowing because we're here to provide someone to lean on when you're falling with the 8 and 9 and it's on.
Once again, it's on. Y'all are listening to the only morning show at night. That's right. It's the Sinclair Show coming to you live and direct. Whether you are watching us on TV, listening to us on radio, on podcasts, and what formats are we not on now? And look, first, I want to thank all of y'all who continue to send your mailbag questions and comments and thoughts and anything else you got on your mind, because without you all, there'll be no reason for me to be up here in this particular format. So y'all really the plug. I used to think I was the plug, but y'all the plug. Because y'all keep the show going. We in year 6, 7, one of them two. It don't even matter anymore. I just want to thank all of y'all for always coming through for a brother, because that's how we get down. And look, tonight is no different from any other night. We got a lot of good stuff that we're going to jump into. But first and foremost, let me go ahead and pay my respects. And for those of you who are on other formats who are consistently complaining, look here, Sinclair, you don't never give us no props. We don't get no shouts out. I've explained this a million times, but let me go ahead and make it clear one more time. I am not on the same format. I'm not on, while the show appears on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and a host of other platforms, I utilize a software that allows me to dispatch it to everybody at the same time, YouTube and everywhere. So if you're on Facebook and you send me a message or you send a shout out, obviously I'll get that real time. I don't get the other ones real time. So if I don't respond until later, charge that to the fact that I'm not seeing it in real time. And I also don't get to read every question because some of y'all be talking a lot. Y'all don't even be talking to me. Y'all be talking to each other. So I just want to let y'all know that's what it is. But let me see who was the first person on the night. First person on the night was Big Rob. Big Rob said he down in Georgia, sending a shout out to Georgia. That's how we get down. And then there's the arch nemesis herself, Miss Nikki Carter. Let me see who else came in. Next came running in was Jay Dizzle, everybody. And then there's Gwendolyn, Lady Elegance Pritchard. Greetings from Huntsville, Alabama, the Rocket City. That's what I like right there. See, she keeping a stack with y'all. Let me see who else we got here. Uh-oh, y'all. There go Mimi Mims. As my mama say, Mini Mims. All right, Mimi Mims is on tonight. What's going on? There go James Key. Glad to see you up in the house. Absolutely. Uh-oh. There go my mama. Hey, mama. What's going on? And there's the Legal Beagle, Cassandra. What's going on? We are glad to see you in the house. So much going on. Look here. So again, if I don't reach out, if I didn't say your name, if I didn't see your name, hey, if you out there and you don't say what's up, it's probably not going to pop up on my screen. So I'm not going to have an opportunity to know who all. If you're sharing, we got some wonderful people who share the show on their own personal formats. Hey, if you're responding on somebody else's format, I'm probably not going to see that. But just know, I got nothing but love for y'all. All right? Whoo, man. Nikki Carter, first of all, you're talking about good evening, Miss Key. First thing you need to do is learn how to spell key. It's K-E-E. K-E-Y is what you put in your door. Anyway, you know what? I told myself I was going to start off with nothing but pleasantries, but y'all know how the arch nemesis just know how to deep dive under your skin, just on some recklessness, if you will. So look, we got about 6-7 different things to talk about tonight, and I know we're not going to get to talk about all of them. So I'm going to tell y'all, one, and some of my little young people at the college, they brought up an issue to me, and I gave them my word I was going to talk about it. And so I'm going to start off with that, and then we're going to jump into our regularly scheduled activities. So, y'all been hearing this, and I think we may have mentioned it, this little conflict between the two of our prominent rappers and well, T.I. is more than just a rapper. He's a rapper, actor, philanthropist, all these other things that he does. But and an artist known as Boosie, Lil Boosie, whatever you want to call him. All right. Now, here's the thing. The thing is, the conflict is because Lil Boosie, who and both of these rappers at some point have had a run-in with the law, if you will, have done a little time. Boosie has this thing where he says he don't associate with rats. And for those of you, for my Anglo-Saxon comrades, my white people, you probably know this because I've seen it on some of y'all shows as well. But what's considered to be a rat is somebody who allegedly tells some information, and their telling makes it a benefit to them to reduce the amount of time, if any, that they normally would get. So if you in jail, they call you a rat. If before you go to jail, my understanding is you a snitch if you don't get any time or whatever. All right. So T.I. and Boosie have recently recorded a full album, Chilling. As T.I. said, I had this man in my house, everything was all good. Years ago, T.I. did a podcast for which he told a story, and the story went as follows. He said him and his cousin, who had gotten pulled over, there were some guns in the car, and they both got detained, arrested, whatever. Now, at some point between the time that they were initially incarcerated, got out, T.I.'s cousin, who was in the car with him, passed away. God rest his soul. And he said, in what I believe was a joking scenario, he told the guys on this podcast, he said, hey, my lawyer told me that if the weapons that was in that car belonged to your cousin who is now passed away, then this case can go away. He said he talked to his dead cousin, and his dead cousin told him, hey, man, I take all the charges they got. It ain't gonna bother me. And so T.I. said, so I said they were my cousin's guns. Case went away. When Boosie heard this, he said, I don't mess with rats. I consider T.I. to now be a rat. The album ain't coming out. And it spun into a whole series of things over the last month. So one of the conversations that has been had is, first of all, is telling on somebody whom cannot pay a price for it, meaning they won't do any jail time. Is that even snitching in the first place? And if so, does it even matter? Now, I watched some videos in preparation for tonight's show because I like to at least have hold on. Big Rod said that's a good legal move. Hey, I ain't even, I'm undecided. But let me say this. First of all, I read, there go Detective Pamela Black, glad to see you. Johnny said, not even, and it doesn't matter. Absolutely. So here's the thing. I read T.I.'s case that was actually dismissed. And it was not dismissed because the weapons were said to have belonged to his cousin. The case was actually dismissed because the search was determined to have been an illegal search of the vehicle. So it was determined that everything that was found during the search was inadmissible. Therefore, the police didn't have anything that they could charge him with. That's what the actual paperwork says. Okay. Now, on one hand, you could say, hey, I blame T.I. if people think that he told or put the blame on his cousin because he put that joke, lie, or fabrication or exaggerate. He put that in the atmosphere. This wasn't something somebody else made up that he said. I watched him say it myself. So I started thinking, one, since it wasn't true, what was the purpose of the joke in the first place? But then I got to considering, what would you do? Okay. Me personally, if I and one of my cousins were riding down the highway and we got pulled over and somebody had some illegal weapons in the vehicle, and before we went to trial, God forbid my cousin would pass away, if my lawyer said to me, you don't have to do 12 years, 10 years in jail, all we have to do is say they belong to your cousin who is no longer here, I'm not doing 1 hour of jail time. Okay? And I'm not doing any jail time because it makes sense for me to do any jail time. If I got a cousin who's passed away and all I got to do is say it was his and the court is going to buy it, absolutely. So that's the first piece. Now, I'm looking at these things. Hold on. Nikki Carter said, I'm snitching on you. Nikki Carter, we believe you. You don't have to convince nobody that you will tell anything. You will make up something. I believe you'll fabricate something. So there is no doubt in my mind when you say you will tell, because trust me when I say we believe you. All right. Our legal beagle says a criminal case needs someone to prosecute. Otherwise, there is no case. Absolutely. And that's what the paperwork, well, actually, T.I.'s paperwork indicated because all of the evidence that was found in the car was deemed to be tainted fruit of the tree. They decided that if we didn't have any guns, we didn't have any drugs, we didn't have any people, because all of it was an illegal search, there's nothing that we could take to court, to the jury. Big Rod said, you go with the lawyer tells you to do because you're paying him to keep you out of jail. Absolutely. James said, that's the exact reason why Nikki Carter is not authorized to fish with us. Right on the money, James. And so then, before we even get into the Boosie part of this, I began to ponder in my mind, what's the whole reason why we come? Do you all realize that it's the criminal element that created this thing called snitching and rats? It's the criminals who created a rule that we have accepted in our community that if you tell on me for committing the crime that I committed, that makes you worse than me for committing the crime, and we bought that foolishness. Think about it. Now, we've already discussed last week, hey, a real person ain't gonna let you do no time for them, no way. But we're just talking about this scenario. The criminals in your communities created this, so you and we bought into it. Let's be honest. I hear young people walking around all day long, calling each other snitches. Man, you told on me. So what, you don't want to hang out with me because I told on you that you committed a crime? Well, guess what? I don't want to hang out with you anyway, so it really don't matter. But what T.I. would have done in the alleged story that he personally told, it would have been a good, great, solid legal maneuver because there was nobody to face a crime. Even if the evidence had been admitted, his cousin has already passed on. How stupid would T.I. have been to say, I'm going to stand on my own 10 toes, I'm going to accept the guns and say that they was mine, even though my cousin is no longer here, and I'm going to go to jail and do these 10 years that he likely would have gotten so that I can walk out, or so when I'm in jail or prison, I can run around and say, hey man, I'm a solid dude. No, you would have been a stupid dude. And it's part of the reason why you see people in the streets of our illustrious hoods, if you will, that are, let me see what Big Rod said. Big Rod said, our folks always talk about no snitching rule, but get mad when the police can't do their job. However, these same criminals are messing up our neighborhoods. Absolutely. You're 100% right, Big Rod. Anymore, how you doing? Glad to see you. Nicky Carter said, James, I'm showing up anyway. Girl, you ain't showing up nowhere. We ain't even telling you where we go fishing. Anyway, so that's the whole thing. What's this made up pride rule that you stand firm on keeping your mouth shut? You know how many people are sitting in jail right now for crimes that they did not commit because they was hanging with somebody who committed the crime, and because they were affiliated with a made-up organization that they created themselves, and they said, look, man, we all gonna ride this out. We didn't all do the crime. We not gonna all ride it out. Let me say that again. If we didn't all do the crime, how do you look your family in the eye and say to them, I'm getting ready to go away for 3 to 5 years. I know I didn't commit this crime. I know who did commit the crime. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to put y'all in a hardship situation. I'm going to turn everybody's life upside down because I still want to be cool with Young Thug. And I'm just using his name because he in the news. How ignorant is that? You ain't gonna see your son or your daughter for 3 to 5 years, or you want your baby mama or your wife or whomever she is to you to drive your child down to the prison to look at you through a glass window while you do time for a crime you didn't commit because you down with the hood, and the hood said, regardless to what you know, you don't tell nothing. That's ignorant. And I'm so sick and tired of seeing young black men and women get criminal records because we got this ignorant rule. Now let's start talking about Boosie. Boosie he done been to jail. And so he feels some kind of way. He said Boosie for the streets. Now, in fairness, and in full disclosure, hold on for a second. Big Rod said Mike Vick got the time for his cousin. They all snitched on him. Absolutely. Mike Vick wasn't even there. They was in the back choking puppies and drowning them. Mike Vick was in Atlanta. This was happening in Virginia, and he took that time. Dummy. Minnie Mims says, sorry, I'm not going to jail for nothing and nobody. All right. Jay Dizzle said, I would be more angry if I was with someone that did a crime and got caught with me there and want me to go to lock up with them and not a part of the shenanigans. You're absolutely right. But let's talk about Boosie. And in full disclosure, I gotta say this. It's part of my duties as an on-air personality. I like Boosie. Matter of fact, I think Boosie be keeping it real. Too real sometimes, but I like Boosie. I like his music. Matter of fact, he just did a song called Rocket Man. I like the song Rocket Man. Matter of fact, I've been playing it in my vehicle. But that's neither here nor there in this particular case. They said, come out on out there, they got us. Right. So think about it. Boosie, you saying that T.I. snitch for telling on his cousin who was dead. I want to ask this question. Taya Matthews, you late. We ain't even giving you no shout out. I want to ask this question. Boosie said no snitching. Never tell. Never talk to the police. Never deal with the authorities. 10 toes down, let the streets handle it. But I came across some videos. And some videos where Boosie said that the police, when he got incarcerated, allegedly stole about $100,000 worth of jewelry from him. No, he said $1 million worth of jewelry. Later on the DJ Vlad video, he said $500,000, whatever the price was. And on this other video, I'm watching Boosie talking to Roland Martin. He said, we working with the police. We got our own private investigators. We working with the authorities because we want all of them ones that stole my jewelry to get locked up. So I got to thinking in my mind, Boosie, if you said never work with the police, whatever happens, you let the streets take care of it. How you down there working with the authorities and telling the names of the people you believe that stole your jewelry because you want to get your jewelry back? How you doing that? Did you then snitch? What say you all the people? Is it snitching if Boosie working with the authorities and dropping names on who he thinks stole his stuff? What's the difference between that and anything else? Big Rod said Boosie will snitch when the feds roll up. Hey, I gotta believe it. Jay Dizzle said that's snitching. Nikki Carter even on the team with us, she said it's snitching. What the rest of y'all think? If you're cooperating with the police, once you get paid, the rules change as 50. Hey, I was wondering because he stood, we got a whole album. Lady Elegance Pritchard said, yes, sir, it is snitching. And don't get me wrong. I believe Boosie did the right thing. You steal my stuff and I can prove it. You're supposed to let the authorities handle it. You just can't come back later and accuse somebody else of being a snitch or a rat because they talking to the police about a case or they giving up some information when you said you giving up all kind of information. And just like T.I. in his video, Boosie said it himself. I'm not taking somebody else's word about it. Anymore said he absolutely a snitcher. Think about it. I'm not taking, this ain't hearsay. I watched the video with Boosie and Roland Martin. You can find it out on YouTube for yourself. And he's talking about he's working with the police. He's got his own private investigators. He want them jokers that stole his jewelry to get locked up. Boosie, you working with the authorities, you cooperating, as you should. You supposed to. I want everybody to work with the police. But you can't call T.I. a snitch and a rat because he made up some story that his paperwork clearly says he ain't talked to nobody. B-Rod said, if you're the victim, then you will work with the police. However, if you're a criminal, then you don't want to get caught up. Hey, I wholeheartedly agree. Yes, Cassandra, he did say that the police stole his jewelry, and that was the thing. So he said he was working with the other authorities to help get his stuff back and to prove it. And he had hired his own private investigator. James said Boosie can't afford to go street. He got them strikes. Listen, I don't doubt any of those things. I'm just saying, hold on. Cassandra said, in her opinion, he's not a snitch. Whoa, let's go back and deep dive into this. Cassandra, if you could elaborate for us briefly why you believe that, hold on, Cassandra said she did. She came back and said because he's telling on cops. But isn't telling? That's the whole thing about snitching. Snitching is you don't tell, you let the streets handle it. So you can't say that it's snitching if you tell on everybody but the police. A criminal, if you're telling on a criminal, somebody who broke the law, then street code say you snitching. Nope, different when you tell in the streets. You know what, Cassandra? I respect you because you have a brilliant mind. I just can't rock with you on this because the inference, and mind you, I believe Boosie did the right thing. I just have a problem if you're telling on somebody and giving up information, the very thing you said is snitching, then it's still snitching. Snitching you tell to the cops, not if it's on the cops. Yeah, I'm not rocking with that. Because now you're adding too many tentacles to what is snitching. Snitching is telling. If it's telling, that's exactly what he did. Now, you mean to tell me, if Boosie tells that some rogue cops went in his car and stole his jewelry, which was on the streets, then that's not snitching. But if a dude on the block broke into his car and stole the same jewelry out, and he told that, then it's snitching? Come on, y'all. That don't make no sense whatsoever. Cops are not supposed to steal from anyone. Mims, ain't nobody ask you for no lesson in moral conduct. I'm saying, if two people, regardless of their professions, break into your car, go into your car, and they take from you jewelry, you're saying if I report the cops, it's good business. But if I tell on the dude from 4 blocks down, then it's snitching. Come on now. What's the difference? Both of them were criminals because both of them robbed you. Jay Dizzle, what you think about that? I'm just saying. James said, but seeing you can't handle it street if it's the authorities. Yes, you can. Hey, and hold on. Let me rewind that. I'm not saying that you should, but don't tell me retribution for criminal acts on a police officer is not done in the streets. We see that all the time. It's wrong. Because if you know that there's some criminal activity, you should always allow the authorities to handle it. That's my disclaimer. I'm just saying that Johnny said he snitched on cops to other cops. That's it. Johnny just told it right there. He still snitched. It's just he was reporting cop criminals to cops. And that's the whole point. Because the point is not to say snitching is wrong. I am in support of you telling if somebody does something to you. Okay? Big Rod said people call it snitch. Cops call it blue line. People with money call it cost of doing business. It all depends on which side of the fence you on. I agree. And again, to the public, I'm not saying that Boosie was wrong. I ain't saying T.I. was wrong because T.I. didn't really do anything anyway. The paperwork proves what happened there. I'm saying to you all, Boosie should have reported the cops. He should not be browbeaten because he snitched on him. He still snitched, but it was the right thing to do. And it's the right thing for you, your child, or anybody else. If somebody accuses you of something or violates you or takes something or breaks in your home or assaults you or bullies you, you're supposed to tell. How can we have a street code that says don't tell, but our sons and daughters go to school and get bullied, but they're afraid to talk about it because they mama and daddy believe in the code that you ain't supposed to tell nothing. You ain't supposed to snitch. If you down and you black, you don't report nothing. You take it up in the street. And then when your son and daughter go out there in the street and do something to a person, and now they're accused of attempted murder, assault, or whatever charge they facing, now they got to come back and look at you with your broke self who can't afford the type of lawyer that they need and say, I would have told on them, but you told me handle it in the streets. Zion said, I would love to hear Boosie explain his difference, then you would really know. I'm pretty sure Boosie would come up with some elaborate conversation because, again, I like him. I laugh. I watch almost everything Boosie pop up on because I like him. All right? That's the truth. But I ain't rocking with him on this because I don't believe you could call T.I. a snitch and a rat if you told on somebody too. Nikki Carter said that's worth losing street cred. Absolutely. But you shouldn't lose street cred, Nikki. You're absolutely right. But you should not lose street cred in the black community if somebody violates you, your property, somebody you care about, the neighbor down the street. If you see it, you should not be losing street credibility because you go tell the authorities, I know who just broke in. I know who beat that woman. I know who killed that boy. I know who did whatever. You shouldn't lose street credibility. That's the problem. You want to know why your sons and daughters don't know what to do when they are in situations? Because of us and these stupid codes. You're the ones raise your son. Somebody do something to you, don't say nothing about it. You go pick up a bat and bust them in the head. Then when they pick up a bat and bust them in the head, it's premeditated because they so stupid they posted it up on social media. Now they getting ready to do 5 to 7 years, and you sitting there talking about the legal system wrong. Your parenting was wrong. I said street cred is about allowing other people to get away with doing things they're not supposed to be doing and not saying anything. That is the simplest definition of it. And so when we start talking about street cred and what's right and wrong and snitching and all that, remember this, people. In the end, when you are believing this foolishness, when you are steering your sons and daughters to it, when you are telling your brothers and sisters out here that telling is wrong, that going to the authorities to get resolution, going to the courthouse is wrong, that the only way that you can handle something is to handle it yourself in these streets, then stop blaming white folks for the reason why the prison is full of black folks. The reason why some of us, not all, a significant portion of us is there because we are teaching our own communities, take the law into your own hands and don't say nothing when something happened to you. Y'all some dummies anyway. I ain't even gonna say nothing to y'all. James said, bottom line is police expected him to let it go. Wrong. I agree, James. He shouldn't have let it go. Ty said, handling things in the street might get you in a coffin. Absolutely. Look, people, we're gonna move on because I got a couple of different things to talk about. Matter of fact, let's knock this one out. One of the things somebody sent me was about Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller, if you all do not keep up with sports, is a young man who plays basketball for, I believe, Alabama. All right. And he is, if he's not the number one, he's close to being the number one prospect in the country. He is a true freshman. And last month, he went out with his homies. Him and two other gentlemen, I think at least one of those other gentlemen play basketball. While they were out, one of the young men who was riding with Mr. Miller had his gun with him, his legally owned gun. When they decided they was going to go to some different clubs, the young man left his gun in Mr. Miller's car. Mr. Miller then went on to another location and he was partying somewhere else, or he was at another club or whatever. At some point, the gentleman who owned the gun sent Mr. Miller a text. Hey, bring me my joint. The assumption, although there is no proof, the assumption is that the joint he was speaking of was the handgun that he had left in the car. He left the gun in the car because obviously he knew he couldn't take it in the club. But the young man had got into a confrontation that allegedly Mr. Miller did not know about. The reason why I'm saying allegedly, because the text messages did not indicate that he ever shared with him that he was beefing with somebody. Okay? Mr. Miller drives back to where the dude is. He allows the dude to get whatever was in his car out of his car, which it was his handgun. The gentleman then takes the handgun, and as he's in an altercation, he fires and he kills somebody, a young lady. Everybody in Alabama is upset because Mr. Miller was originally detained but has not been charged. He was originally kicked off the Alabama basketball team, but has since been allowed to play again. And people are now saying that it was only because he was an athlete, a prominent athlete, that he was allowed to get back on the team and that he wasn't charged. Now, for me, after reading the information, okay, I understand why the prosecutors or the grand jury has not elected to charge him, because the information that's available, including understanding what was in the text messages themselves, did not indicate that he knew what was going to happen with the gun. All right. So I want to begin by saying that. That's saying up here. All right. What are y'all talking about? Nikki Carter said, as first the news to lose, he shot the girl. Okay, but he did not. And let's talk about that too. Initially, it was put out in the public as if he was the shooter, which he was not. As a matter of fact, there is indication now through factual information, he never even spoke to the people. He never spoke to anybody. As a matter of fact, as when the shots were actually being fired, he had actually already parked his car. All right. James said, as Marcus says, and happy birthday, Marcus, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Where is Marcus at? Marcus, our homie, it is his birthday. Absolutely. Happy birthday. He brought him the gun. He brought him the gun, though, James. Let me say this. He brought him the gun because it was his gun. Mr. Miller never owned a weapon, and his fingerprints was not on the gun. And as it was indicated, he never touched the gun. If you have a legal gun, let me put this in perspective. James, if you ride with me somewhere and you have your legal gun and we go in the store and you say, I don't want to take this gun in the store. And you say, I'm going to leave it in here, and you cover it up. And we come back and I drop you off at your house. And then subsequently you call me and say, hey man, I left my gun in your car. Bring it back to me. I'm going to bring you your gun because it's your gun. I have no reason to keep it with me. It's not mine. When I bring you your gun back and you get it, if you go off and kill somebody, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Big Rod said he cooperated with the police. He showed them everything. If he had anything to do with the killing, the state of Alabama don't care if he's a basketball star. I agree. Alabama has not been known for, oh, it's a black man involved in a shooting. Let's take it easy on him. That ain't how Alabama get down. Nikki Carter said James Keeper, he didn't know what he was doing with it. Absolutely, Nikki Carter. Ty said exactly. James said true, but if I shoot someone, you wrapped up in it. Well, apparently not, James, because if I can prove, I didn't know what you had going on. The text messages didn't say, hey man, these folks out here in these streets beefing with me, bring me my gun, I'm finna handle something. It just said, hey man, bring me my joint. Again, I have no reason not to bring you your legally owned gun that you left in my car. You left it in the car because you didn't want to take it in the club. That's common sense. So for those people who have been out here tearing down the internet waves, the issue that you have is that when anytime there is a black man involved in any alleged crime, we run out here and we create this space, especially, God forbid, someone's life got taken. And we certainly send our understanding to the family of the lady that got killed. But the truth of the matter is, why would you want somebody to face charges whom the police in Alabama, of all places, have determined they don't see any connection? And when they question each of the other two gentlemen, both of them corroborated that they had not shared any of that information with Mr. Miller, that all they did was tell him to bring the gun. They never told him why. So if I don't know why or what you're about to do, and it's your gun that you legally owned, why would I not bring it back to you? James said, what gems him up is he knew about the gun. That doesn't make it right, though. Well, he's not getting jammed up because the truth of the matter is they've decided, at least as of now, they have nothing to jam him up with. I believe that this is one of the few times that Alabama judicial system, be it at the police level, the prosecution level, or otherwise, is getting it right. We should be at a point in our society where if nothing attaches you to the crime, we're not going to turn you into a criminal. Although many people would love to see it happen, and they are mad because he's back on the basketball team. They think it's insensitive that Alabama allowed him to get back on the basketball team at a time when his name is still associated with a crime that just occurred. However, the problem is when you can't accept that a person isn't, Nikki Carter said, OMG, I can't believe. I agree with you, Sinclair. Hey, every now and then a clock is going to be right. James said, know your friends. Hey, you're absolutely right. But I don't know, James. Let me ask you this question. Let me see. Cassandra said, there is no crime to transport a legal gun to someone who is legally able to have it. I agree with Cassandra. That's part of the reason why. And I would go a step further. If Mr. Miller believed that the gun was legally owned, and the guy said, I'm leaving it in the car because I don't want to take it in the club because I don't want nothing to pop off. he leaves it in his car and calls him sometime later and say, hey, bring me my joint, and doesn't tell him anything about there being any type of altercation and negativity, even if he thought the illegal gun was legal, he was under he was doing the exact right thing by taking somebody a gun he believed to belong to them. In this case, it's cleared up because of the fact that it was a legally purchased weapon that the gentleman who happened to have committed the crime was authorized to have. James said, until somebody's shot. James, listen, you was doing so good. We're just gonna let that ride. So the bottom line is this, people. One, we do operate in a day and time. Because I say, even if the gun was illegal, if Mr. Miller had no knowledge of that fact, or he was not the owner, it's still not illegal. Y'all heard it straight from the Legal Beagle. She just corroborated exactly what I told you. And that's the thing that you have to understand about the law. Now, the facts that would have made a bigger difference, if there had been anything, let me see. Lady Elegance Pritchard said Alabama just passed a law that you don't need a permit to even carry the gun. And to be honest with you, Lady Elegance, most states have that an individual can open carry a weapon, meaning you can wear a weapon on your person as long as it is not hidden or concealed. If you do not want to show the weapon, you must purchase a concealed carry permit. You can generally, in almost all states, now, because I know New York has recently changed its guidelines, there's probably only a handful that you can't. And many states have what they call reciprocity, which means this state will allow you to go off of what's on that state. Brother Sizemore said VA is like that. Good afternoon, Brother Sizemore. Absolutely. And so I want you, and it is, and let me say this, people, even though this is veering off the tracks a little bit, it is important for you to understand what the laws of your state are. And there is no reason at all for an individual to have, hold on, what is our Legal Beagle saying? They would have to prove Miller knew that the gun was being used in the commission of a crime, so his friends in a crazy way protected him from that fact for his own good. He got lucky. Absolutely, Legal Beagle. It is up to each of us to understand what the gun laws in our states are. I encourage all of you to, if you own a gun, period, I would encourage all of you to go out and take a concealed carry course. One, it'll teach you about weapon safety. It'll teach you how to properly handle your weapon. But two, it'll put you in good standing, because sometimes, for example, some states, you can carry a weapon in your car, but some of them say it can't be loaded. Some say the ammo has to be in, if you got it in the front, the ammo got to be in the back. Some states say you could carry it loaded. Some states say you can have it in a locked glove compartment. So states are different. But if you get your concealed carry permit, you don't have to worry about it. And this really wasn't supposed to be a course on concealed carries, because everybody who, the gentleman that had this gun, he had it legally. Let's end it with that, all right? So, but make sure you know the laws in your state so you stay on the right side of the laws in your state. Does that make sense? Let's keep it moving. All right, so we got a letter here tonight. This letter says, Dear Sinclair, I'm a 26-year-old woman who has been in a 2-year relationship with my former fiance. Recently, we decided that it was not working, us being a couple. However, since we were in a lease that could not be broken, we decided to continue to live together, and we each have our own room. We are still friends, however, just not in a relationship. This past weekend, her former fiance, told me that he wanted me to begin paying half the bills when our previous arrangement was I paid the utilities and he paid the rent, and we went half on the food. I do not think we should change the original agreement just because we're not together anymore. Sinclair, am I wrong for wanting the things we agreed to originally to stand? Sign, Taylor. Okay, Taylor. First of all, Taylor, let me say this to you. Look who's jumped in the house, y'all. They go my armor bearer, Esther Shepherd. What's going on? Glad to see you. Nikki Carter said, move out, sis. All right, so first of all, Nikki Carter, before you start jumping out talking about move out, the young lady has already indicated that they are in a lease that they can't get out of the lease right now. All right. James said, I might end up like Miller. I ain't even messing with you with that. Cassandra said, yes, she's wrong, but legally a verbal agreement is binding. So Taylor, the legal beagle has said, you got a legal grounds to stand on if you can prove that he said it. Now, whether or not he's going to admit that if you try to take him to court, I don't know. But Gwendolyn Lady Elegance Pritchard said, yes, ma'am, you should pay half the rent. Now somebody has said, are they still sleeping together? Those are facts not in evidence. She indicated that they are friends, but they are not in a relationship. Now, I don't know. Minnie Mims said, oh, H to the hockey sticks. Yeah, you paying for your own share. James Key said, why not? All right, so let me, the general consensus is, yeah, you ought to pay yours. Let me say this. This is a very, very touchy situation. Matter of fact, when I read this, I was going over it at work, and one of my colleagues, Ms. Freeman, she gave me a quote, and I said that I was going to read her quote on air tonight. She said, where is it at? She said, you don't get breakup benefits. That's attributed to Miss Freeman. She said, when you break up, you don't get breakup benefits. Miss Barkley said, was there a stipulation related to a change in the relationship? Probably not. I don't have that information. Cassandra said, pay your half, sis, or move out, which is what she should have done when the engagement ended. He or they are exes for a reason. All right. Now, hold on. Yeah, Cassandra, I agree with you 100%. But I don't like the way that some of this is tempered as if the dude was the problem. The reality of it is this. If you're writing to the show, Miss Taylor, and saying that for whatever reason, because we don't know why the relationship ended, and quite honestly, why it ended is irrelevant. Because whatever the course of action was that caused it to end, they decided, based on the lease, that they could neither one afford at this moment to break the lease. All right? Nikki Carter said, hold up. I said move out too. Hey, I'm not that. Hey, Nikki Carter, we're not even fighting. The issue is, if you made an agreement with somebody under the mindset that, you know what, if you my girl, Cassandra said she might have been the reason, and it is not the issue. Absolutely right, Cassandra. Ty said, if the parameters of the relationship have changed and they are no longer together, then the parameters for the living arrangement should also change. I agree. Minnie Mim said, it's not a touchy situation. We're not together. That means we're roommates. Pay your bills. All right. Nikki Carter said, it's not irrelevant. He broke his agreement. You don't know that, Nikki Carter. You don't know he broke the agreement. All we have in terms of facts and evidence that Taylor, who wrote the letter, indicated they decided that the engagement needed to be broken. Recently, she said, we decided it was not working, us being a couple. She didn't say he decided. She wrote, recently, we decided that it was not working. So you can't say if he broke the agreement, whatever. You don't know that. That's facts, not in evidence. But I do believe this. If I made an agreement with you, Ms. Barkley said, and we only have Taylor's side of the story. Right. But it's easy to come to a decision off Taylor's side because I believe Taylor was transparent. But Taylor, for me to answer Taylor's question, I'll answer it like this. Taylor, hold on, let me read. Cassandra said the contract or agreement is the issue here. Watch what y'all say because you might have signed a contract with your mouth and it is legally binding, just like on paper. Now that's coming from a legal beagle, people. She's telling you be careful what you promise because what you promise you may be legally liable for. Nikki Carter talking about Taylor called me sis. Girl, ain't nobody messing with you in the Me Too movement. Taylor, listen to me. You asked me, Taylor, to answer this question. So I'm going to give you, as a counselor now, my thoughts on this situation. First and foremost, Taylor, I would say to you, in order for your living situation to make sense, you have to be fair and reasonable about your expectations. If you believe that your former fiance made an agreement with you that because you was his woman, he wanted to put you in a situation where many men feel like, hey, if as the man of the house, I pay the largest portion of the bills. If that's why the agreement was made in the first place, to make your life easier because you was his woman, and whatever the reason that you all decided to go in a different direction, which does not matter to me, because the moment you said we decided, it means he did not dump you. It meant that you all had a dialogue and you all agreed that the relationship wasn't going to work. So if you decided that with a clear mind, why would you believe then that any individual that you're not in a relationship with should foot the cost of you to live paying what you would normally have to pay? I don't find that to be reasonable unless this, and fellas, I want you to listen to this. The only exception I make to this statement is this. If he made the agreement with Taylor because he understood her moving in with him, she could not reasonably afford to be there and the cost of living where they chose to live, I personally believe he should honor the agreement. Because if you made that decision on what she should pay when you all were engaged because you knew financially she could not afford it, her financial situation has not changed, so she should not be required to, if the reason that you made it was because she could not afford it, so you would pay the larger sum, and you wanted her to be there. But if it's for any other reason, then tell her, stop wanting something for nothing. I'm just saying. Legal Beagle said, in contract law, failure to fulfill a promise in a contract is a breach of the contract, for which the other party may sue for performance and or damages. Y'all just got that legal word. Minnie Mim said, OMG, call you for what, Nikki? Look at people, I'm just giving it. So Nikki, ask yourself, did he make that decision because you couldn't, your revenue, your financial income was not great enough for you to be there? And he said, babe, I want you to be here. I'll pay the largest sum. If you made it for that reason, then your fiance should continue to pay it through the course of that lease. But if he only made it because you all were in a relationship and that's his honorable thing on how he gets down, then you should be fair about it and say, look, he's no longer in that capacity, so then he should not have to pay for you to live. That's my opinion. You've gotten the legal side of it. You've gotten what some of the people out here in the public think. And I'm now giving you a scenario by which if the agreement was made because he knew up front you could not afford to live there, and he agreed to take on the larger load financially, he should continue that through the course of the lease, because the reason that he agreed to it matters to me. All right? Let me give y'all this one last thing, because Cassandra said we need more info because maybe this situation changed. Could be. I agree. And finally, people, from the y'all so stupid category, DNA found on a sweet potato helps Massachusetts police solve a 12-year-old cold murder case. More than a decade after 31-year-old Todd Lampley was fatally shot in Massachusetts' home, authorities have arrested and charged a suspect who was identified with the help of DNA found on a sweet potato found at the crime scene, court records show. Devarius Hampton, 40, pleaded not guilty Monday to charges of murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. Barnstable District Court records show it was exactly 12 years after the February 27th, 2011 killing. On the night of Lampley's death, investigators found a shell casing and a sweet potato on the ground outside of the window of the bedroom where he was shot. An arrest affidavit from the Cape Island District Attorney Office states investigators believe that this potato was used as a silencing device to muffle the sound of a gunshot. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all tripping. This brother got caught because he handled a sweet potato. You see what you people be out there doing. You allegedly used a sweet potato to muzzle the sound for you to shoot somebody, and you left the sweet potato at the scene of the crime? You're supposed to get locked up. If it is true, I hope they lock you up, and let that be a lesson to all of you perusing through the vegetable aisles in your store thinking about committing a crime. 12 years later, they got your DNA off a sweet potato. And now you in court talking about it wasn't true. I'm not rocking with y'all. Just ain't rocking with that foolishness. Mr. Pizarro said, it seems to me that you're talking from both sides of the situation, but giving no opinion. What do you believe? Richard, I don't even know you, so I don't know what you're talking about. Would you care to elaborate? At the end of the day, here's what I feel. I feel like this, people. First of all, this dude with this sweet potato move, you should have cleaned up behind yourself if you committed that crime. You stupid in the first place. You shouldn't have been out there shooting nobody from the start. Lady Elegant said, you big dummy in my Fred Sanford voice. Absolutely. James said, how sweet it is. At the end of the day, though, people, here's where we at. And this will sum up because we got to go. It's after 9 o'clock. People, we find ourselves in situations all the time. And the situations that we find ourselves in, some of them we put ourselves in, some of them just by happenstance and chance we find ourselves in. There is a way that you conduct yourself and you navigate, and generally speaking, you won't have to worry about many of these things. But if you find yourself behind the 8 ball, either because of your own actions or the actions of the folks you choose to hang out with, stop trying to hide behind cover because you choose to associate with idiots or you the idiot yourself. If you do the crime, do the time. And for those of you who be out there in support of the foolishness, recognize 2 things. Most of what you will make an opinion about is a lie that somebody gave you. Because if we all was as good as we pretend to be out here in these streets and on social media, why would we ever find ourselves in these situations? That's something for you all sidewinders to think about. And we out.
It's about that time, baby, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
The Sinclair Show is on.
It is on.
Run it to your friends. Come on.
Come on.
It's a moment of the show.